A very warm welcome to everyone joining us for yet another edition of the Heritage Insights webinar series. It is truly encouraging to see this platform grow with every session, strengthened by the enthusiasm and engagement of its participants. Heritage Insights is a joint initiative of BMS School of Architecture, Yelahanka, and CRDS Foundation. The series was conceived to foster a deeper understanding of our nation's historical legacy, cultural traditions, and artistic expressions, while exploring their relevance to contemporary architectural practice. Over the past sessions, this forum has evolved into a meaningful space for learning and reflection. We have engaged with lesser known narratives, traditional knowledge systems, and the importance of conservation and cultural continuity, situating these discussions within today's changing urban and architectural context. What truly distinguishes this series is the diversity of voices it brings together: faculty, researchers, practitioners, scholars, and students, creating a vibrant environment for dialogue and knowledge exchange. We thank you for being part of this continuing journey and looking forward to the insights and conversations that today's session will bring. It gives me great pleasure to begin today's session by introducing our director, Dr. Shaila Bantanur. Dr. Bantanur exemplifies the ideal balance between academic excellence and professional practice. With a PhD from IIT Roorkee and over 2 decades of experience in teaching and research, she has made valuable contributions to architectural scholarship through her publications, mentorship, and interdisciplinary collaborations. Her dedication to the architectural heritage and conservation has been acknowledged with notable distinctions, including the Intact UK Scholarship and Intact Merit Award. Within BMSSA, she has played a pivotal role in cultivating a vibrant research culture, giving rise to initiatives such as Research Dialogue Series, the Knowledge Series, and the Heritage Insight Series, all of which have become valuable platforms for intellectual exploration and dialogue. We are truly fortunate to have her leadership and presence with us today. I now warmly invite Dr. Shaila Bantanu to address the gathering and formally open the session.
Yeah, thank you, Abhirami. And first of all, a warm welcome to Uday, sir, for this online platform. We are very much grateful to have you here. In fact, we wanted to have always these kind of a sessions offline so that there will be a lot of good interactions. And then we want to know a lot of other things also, but somewhere online gives us a lot of limitation, but still it has its own advantage. So I hope this will be a great session. In fact, sir, just wanted to give, as Abhirami also mentioned about it, about the heritage insights. We try to explore a lot of the happening issues or the happening researches, which is in and around, especially focusing on Bangalore. And I'm also very much thankful to Shobha Madam here. She's also a founder of CRDS. With this collaboration, we started this journey of Heritage Insights. And a couple of great sessions, and which is coordinated by Abhirami. Like, for example, Heritage Trusses of Bangalore. Wonderfully, he has explained about a lot of old traditional trusses. In fact, everything was new to even for us. Even as an academician, we have our own limitation, the set of syllabus which talks about something which is old, but still it doesn't talks about what is happening in the present scenario. So this dialogue series is helping us in that way. Also, we had some of the Hoysala related 2 sessions, very interesting sessions, which we came to know that there are more than 50 such Hoysala temples, which now is in the research. And then, apart from that, how exactly this internationally intact or UNESCO World Heritage process happens. And some also was focusing on Vedas to the Mahakumbh when the Mahakumbh was happening. So we thought, let us have these kind of a sessions. So very interestingly, we had a lot of sessions based on I just wanted to give you a kind of a sessions which we had it earlier. And we got really good response. And most of the time in our syllabus, we doesn't, talk about these issues. So this is actually helping even for our students and even for us. And the topic of today's presentation is something related to Bangalore and then how old the Bangalore. The moment we say the Bangalore, we always IT sector. And in fact, Abhirami shared some of your sessions, podcast sessions. So very interestingly, like where you were explaining about the So I was amazed to see that Bangalore is so old, and I'm actually curious to know the content of it. In fact, this remembered me like one of the sessions I have attended in, I think, somewhere in 2005 or 6. In Nasik, where the session was on Mumbai, how exactly the Mumbai originated, what is the relevance of the places like Mahalakshmi, Dadar, then Bandra, then again Andheri, then Sion. So we never, as a citizens of any of the place, we never even focus like how this name of the places comes from. And it's very difficult to even to read, and maybe sometimes we don't get the script, or we don't get the even the literature based on that. So definitely, I think this will be a very, very interesting session. So I once again welcome you, sir, for this online insight series. I am very curious to know like how Bangalore is, because I was a person always was didn't wanted to stay back in Bangalore. So this was my last option to settle in Bangalore. But probably your sessions maybe like will change my opinion about Bangalore. So thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Abhirami,
You're
you mute.
Sorry. Thank you, ma'am. It is with equal pride and pleasure that I introduce architect Shobha Narendra Kumar, an accomplished architect and urban planner with over 25 years of professional experience. She is the founder of IPAC, a renowned multidisciplinary architecture firm in Bangalore. A distinguished alumna of IIM and a celebrated woman entrepreneur, architect Shobha is known for her deep-rooted commitment to India's built heritage, especially that of Karnataka. Her passion for preserving and promoting India's cultural heritage led to the founding of the CRDS Foundation, which focuses on heritage conservation and the creation of sustainable living environments. As a visionary behind the CRDS, she is at the forefront of initiatives that uncover Karnataka's hidden cultural assets while advocating for sustainability and intergenerational equity. I now invite architect Shobha Narendra Kumar to share a few words.
Thank you, Abhirami. Thanks to Dr. Shaila for bridging CRDS Foundation and BMSIT for this wonderful Heritage Dialogue series. So each webinar we come with very interesting topic, and this time we are really very eager to know more insights from Uday sir. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Uday sir. It's a great pleasure to have you here. So we all know Bangalore as with a very different, like a cosmopolitan image. So the topic was so interesting, and when Miss Abhirami shared the video of yours, so we never knew that Bangalore has gone through so many, I mean, it has so many insights and stories, and it was really amazing. So I felt that, we were just having a discussion in the morning, how many participants are there, who have been registered for this webinar session. So there were around 35, 40 people. But then I felt that, it's really very important to take these stories to different people, So because it's not about 10 people or 30 people or 40 people knowing about the rich heritage of Bangalore. It has to be spread out, and people should know the different stages, the how the transformation has happened in Bangalore. So this is a small thing. And yeah, about CRDS, just to know a little bit about CRDS Foundation, it is established in 2019 with a mission focused on preservation, protection, and promotion of Karnataka's living heritage. So we believe that we cannot protect what we do not know. Right, sir? So, I mean, if I didn't know anything about Bangalore, maybe I would have not really thought of actually promoting this session again. I have different thoughts about how we need to have Uday sir for different activities and events, how we can take his help to promote our Bangalore city as well. So we do workshops, knowledge sessions, heritage walkathons, heritage marathons. And one more objective of CRDS Foundation is to hand over this baton of legacy to the next generation. So we always talk about preservation, protection, but until unless we promote our heritage, we cannot preserve and protect. I mean, this is what I believe. So I hope you also agree to my point here. So we also welcome all the participants also to be a part of our CRDS Foundation organization as volunteers or members to do lot of exploration, research activities and events. So we look forward to have a engaging activity here. Thank you so much, and we welcome Uday sir here on the platform. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Udaya Kumar PL, a Bengaluru-based heritage conservationist and independent researcher and the honorary director of the Bengaluru Inscriptions 3D Digital Conservation Project at the Mythic Society. Mr. Udaya Kumar leads an inspiring citizen-driven initiative that works to document and protect more than 1,500 ancient stone inscriptions found across the Bengaluru region, dating back from 200 to 1750 CE. Using a unique mix of fieldwork, 3D digital technology, and public participation, his project makes these fragile historical records accessible not only to scholars but also to students and wider public. What makes his journey especially motivating is that he did not begin as a historian or archaeologist. He was trained as an engineer with a master's degree from IIT Madras and spent over 30 years working in leadership roles at organizations such as Tata, GE. Today, he brings together engineering, data science, mapping technologies, and heritage studies to show how different disciplines can come together to protect the past. His contributions have been widely recognized, including the Namma Bengaluru Citizen Individual of the Year Award in 2019. We are delighted to have him with us today as part of the Heritage Insights webinar series. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Udaya Kumar as he shares his experiences and insights with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining on a Saturday afternoon around lunchtime, especially on a long weekend. It must be quite something. So I hope I'm sure I'll make it worth your time. Also, apologies for the screen. I'm sure I'm using a SLR camera, unfortunately, because I was at home. It's showing all the camera, this one as well. But what I have to show is really the presentation, not so much my face. So, okay. You should be seeing a screen now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So, the title, as you can see, is fairly provocative. It says the journey of Bengaluru from the Antarctic to the 16th century. The reason I chose this was basically because that's where the story of Bengaluru starts. A lot of you would have definitely visited Lal Bagh. When you visit Lal Bagh, there's usually the climb up the small hillock there. There is also a board there, which indicates the importance of this geological monument. But actually, what's very interesting is the story behind it. It's declared as a National Geological Monument. It's protected. Being architects, you probably know a little bit of the story already, that the rock is actually peninsular gneiss. And this is essentially the base for the city. But what's really so extraordinary about this is this rock is about 3.5 billion years old. To put it in context, it's older than life itself. It's because oxygen had not even formed at that point in time. So the speciality of this is that this rock, while it is found in other places, it's not found in places such as urban settings like in a megacity or a global city like Bengaluru. There is rock older than this in the world, and that's in Australia and that's in Canada. If you were to see those, you would have had to travel deep inside the Australian outback or the Canadian Rockies to see it. But here we are very lucky that we have this right in the heart of the city. In fact, in a lot of other places in the city as well. So the oldest substance on Earth is available for us to touch, see, and feel. That's where the story of Bengaluru starts. Now, no other urban location like Bengaluru is lucky enough to have this. And we have this, and we are able to start our story from there. Now, what's very interesting is this piece of rock was not where it was many million years ago. It's about 250 million years ago. It started its journey somewhere in the, let me put on my laser pointer so you can see it better. Right. It's somewhere in the, in the Antarctic region. This graph shows where the piece of rock was a million years ago time, in scale. So about 350 million years ago, it was 70 degrees south. It was about 70 degrees south. And from there, over the 250 million years, it has gradually moved up, crossed the equator, and is now 13 degrees north of the equator, which is where Bangalore is today. So that is a fantastic journey for a material which is also the oldest piece on rock available on Earth. So what we think of Bengaluru in many ways is not where it is today. We were deep in the Antarctic. We were close in the Antarctic about 250 million years ago. So that rock has traveled, the far more distance than most of us would have in our lives. That's something that survived time, and that's also traveled quite some distance. And that is why I said, the journey of Bengaluru starts from the Antarctic. Okay. Now, it's not, what I'm telling you is not something extraordinary. Almost all of the mass of Earth today started in Gondwana land in the Antarctic. That's a common piece of knowledge. But what's very special about this is that from those days, the material that's in the original state is found in Bangalore. Not true for any other piece of land anywhere. The soil and the sand and the rock elsewhere has changed dramatically over the years. It's not that which was there 3.5 billion years ago. That's what makes this story so special and unique. The story of Bengal, of the Lalbagh rock and all the many other rocks here. Okay. Now that's from times when life did not exist. But what about, when did people start to live here? We have lots of evidences of that in the form of dolmens. This is a dolmen, the Stone Age tools, rock art, and all of that as well. And here I have a few examples. These tools, the stone tools, they were found at Jalali. And the period is dated to be between about 500 to 1000 BCE. This is the time around when the Vedas were being formed, Buddhism was quite popular, and all of those kind of things. Now this was discovered by a British archaeologist around in the 1950s. And he found so many of these tools that he thought, look, this can't be just a place where people lived. They were actually manufacturing these tools for other people in and around the place. So it was actually a factory producing stone implements. Now, this is the same place where we have BEL and HMT today. So if you think of BEL and HMT as industries or factories of today, they actually are sitting on land which had a tradition of manufacturing going back almost 2,500 years. So Bangalore is not necessarily a manufacturing hub. Today, there's also instances of manufacturing here that go back over 2 millennium. Okay. Now, these are not unfortunately available for us to see here today. They are in the British Museum at London. You can go there and you can see these if you want to see them as well. Okay. This is a dolmen. A dolmen is essentially a Stone Age shelter, also used for burials. So when they buried people in pots, they would also bury with them some grains and food items and things like that would be useful to them, which people thought would be useful for them in the afterlife. Sometimes in such urns like here, in a big urn, they would bury the skeleton itself of a child or somebody who would fit in that as well. So for us, it's possible to carbon date these and then date these. basically by the style of the pottery as well as by carbon dating and all that. This is in a place called Kannur, which is about 6-7 kilometers north of Ring Road on Hennur Banaswadi, in the Hennur Banaswadi region. So the first signs of human settlements, we have a Stone Age burial, we have Stone Age implements, and then we have also rock art. As you can see here in what I'm circling, this is a man who seems to be riding on a horse or a donkey. Okay? And over here we have as most Bangaloreans do on Saturday evenings or Friday evenings, partying. There's a bonfire and people seem to be dancing around it. Okay? And here's another scene which is common scene even today in the rural side. A cow has a nose string and somebody is leading it home probably. This rock art was documented in the year 1945 by again some by anthropologists and archaeologists. Now here's the story, and I heard the word conservation mentioned so many times during the introduction. None of these are available for anyone to go see today, because this rock art that you're seeing is near the Nice Road toll gate. It was on a stone. It's been quarried out now. This art is lost. These were on a boulder at Dotkaneli on Sajapur Road, and that boulder was dynamited because they wanted to build a school. Now they haven't even built anything in that area. It's a garbage dump now. If you have not heard about these things, it's not because they were not documented by professionals. It's because they were stayed in the professional realm of exotic novels, journals, and the real objects have been destroyed as well. Thankfully, we have photographs, we have the journal articles to go by. Okay, now also, moving on a little bit closer. Typically, any place is known for its people. Or usually the people have done some heroic act. They're role models, they're icons, right? Now, if someone were to ask who are the ancient heroes of Bengaluru, usually there would be one or two names. But guess what? We have upwards of 100 of them, and I'm showing you an example from a place everyone would recognize. This is the Indian Institute of Science. Now, to understand the importance of this, every day in the newspapers today we get mentions of leopard attacks. In fact, I think I read one yesterday where a leopard attacked somebody and killed the person. Now, leopards are in the news these days. They've entered schools, they've entered villages, they've entered towns, and they wreak havoc. Essentially, people run helter-skelter, lock themselves up and all that. But a leopard is really a slightly big cat. It's not significant in terms of size or power or anything like that. Now imagine the same scene with a tiger. A tiger is massive. It's about 7 foot long and quite a foot tall. Extremely one of the most powerful animals on earth. Let's say a tiger enters the village or your college, for example, and then is roaming around the corridors. No one would be around there, trying to either hunt down the tiger, lock it up, or kill it, or anything like that. They would be running for their lives. Same story anywhere, anytime, right? So in the IISc area, we had a village there. And the name of the village in recent times was Medarninganalli. So the tiger had turned man-eater, or maybe it was kind of stealing cattle and chicken and dogs or whatever. So it had to be hunted down, and the people of the village set upon themselves to go track the tiger down and kill it. In the process, a man actually killed the tiger, but he also died in the process. Now, please imagine the situation. A tiger has been killed. It was a man-eater. It had taken many lives. It's been killed, and so that now the village is safer. The man, in a selfless act, protected the village and in the process gave away his own life. He's a martyr. He's a savior. So to immortalize his act, they put up a stone like this. This is fragmented. The man's part is now broken. You can see the tiger, you can see the bow and the arrow here. Typically, in any other stone, you would have seen the man standing up and shooting the arrow as well into the tiger too. Okay, so to immortalize it and to also kind of inspire people to be this kind of a hero, they put up a stone there. This is at least 1,000 years old. Okay, and this is the place where it's seated now. So the oldest, so IISc is one of the most modern, high-tech educational institutes in the city today, or maybe in the country. It is also home to one of the oldest man-made object in that place is about 1,000 years old. Okay. Now, what's very interesting is there's also a stone standing behind here. Maybe, I'm not sure if you can see this on Teams here, but there are cup marks here, hollowed out cup-shaped marks here. These are typically from prehistoric times, which means they're about 2,000 or 2,000 years old, more years old. So in the heart of the city, in the world's one of the world's most premier institutions, we have a piece of stone called the hero stone, the spit up for heroes there, right? Similarly, this is a map of Bengaluru. I don't know how many of you can read Kannada, but this is, I'll walk you through this. This is a map of the Bengaluru, and these are the wards of the city. Bengaluru has about 340 corporation wards. Greater Bengaluru administration now has about 340 wards. Each of these icons that you're seeing here is a similar hero stone, such as is being shown here on the right side. So 3 examples here. This is also a tiger hero, hunt hero stone. Here you can see the man as well. He's holding a tiger and he's actually using a dagger. He's killed it. This is in a place called Sakalvara, which is on near Banerghata. Okay. This is another hero stone where you can see a person who's seems to have speared himself. Even in both these instances. These are called Atma Balidana hero stones. Now, to understand these and to appreciate these, I would ask you to go back to the times of COVID, when people were dying all over. They were infected and they were suffering and they were dying all over. The entire world, not just India or Bangalore, was struck with COVID and was terrified. I'm sure many of you, as was a lot of others elsewhere, prayed to God at that time and said, save me or save my child or save my parents or save my whoever and all of that, right? Everyone was waiting for that vaccine or for that, the disease to subside. Now imagine this 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago. Even today, when say a dear one falls sick, the most commonly thing that one does after taking the person to a hospital or a doctor is pray to God and say, if you cure this child of the disease, or save my husband or save my wife or whatever, I promise to break 108 coconuts or do something of that type, right? You take a vow. And when that happens, you fulfill the vow. Now, in times of extreme drought or disease like plague and all of this, people would take the extreme vow. So basically, which is what is most precious to anyone is their own lives. They would pray to God and say, God, if you cause rain or get rid of this disease, I will offer my own life for you. And when that happened, in front of the temple, they would fall from a height on a sharp spear kind of thing and offer their own lives. Here it's shown a little bit exaggerated way. Here you're showing them a head is being held by in his own hands as well. But remember this though, we do this too every day, even today. We don't give our lives, but probably there would be times when we may even the thought may cross our minds. It takes extreme courage to do that. It's a voluntary act. And that person died not just for himself, he died for all of society. So they would put up a hero stone like this. This is in a place called Dodgubi. We have plenty of instances. There's one in Jakkur. There were plenty of instances here. I'm just showing you a few examples. This is another one which is also of a different type. This is a Sati stone, Mahasati stone. And almost always, when I say Sati, people's ears go up. This is not the Sati of Rajaram Mohan Roy or West Bengal that was banned. The sati here in ancient times was a voluntary act, and there was a ritual and there was a process for it. The woman, it would happen only once in many hundred years in different places. It didn't happen every day. Not when every husband died would a wife get pushed into a funeral pyre or something like that. The woman would be dissuaded actually to and asked, why you want to die? You're young, you have a life, you have children to take care, your parents to take care of, all of that. You're wealthy, there's nothing to worry, all of that. And despite all that, if the lady insisted, no, I don't find meaning in life without my husband, she would not be allowed to do that immediately, because her state of mind would be emotionally imbalanced. So they would ask her to sit it out for a while, think it over and all of that. And then when she did decide to go ahead, despite all of that, it would be a public event. And it would be in the same way as during her marriage. She would be decked up in the same jewelry and the clothes and all that. She would be carried around in the village or the town in a palanquin and all of that. And as you can see here, the final act is that of her sitting in the fire and offering her own life. Now, these three are instances of role models of people, extraordinary courage, and willing to give up their lives for a public social cause. So they're called hero stones, and they would be put up. Here on this map, within the city of Bengaluru, are 90 such hero stones. In fact, there's one within about walking distance from your college as well. So you can scan this QR code, or you can click on this link and access this map. This is a Google map. Because it's a Google map, when you press on the icon, it will show you a lot of information about this one. All the story that I told you here is also given there in written form. And it's also a route map. You just say, you navigate my way to the hero stone, and it will land you right in front of the hero stone. So we have heroes going back from 500 CE, 1500 years to 1800. We stopped here at 1800 because it's almost contemporary after that. So you have every locality of Bangalore has heroes like this. We should celebrate them, and we should actually visit them and be grateful for those acts. Many of them have given their lives to save the locality and the neighborhood from attacks. If you have Bangalore today, it's because of people like these who are given their lives. Okay, so let me move on. What about Bengaluru itself as a place? The first written record of Bengaluru is what you're seeing on the screen. Almost all the images I'm showing are digital images produced by 3D scanning. I'll talk about it a little later. This is an inscription stone. This is in a place called Begur, which is Electronic City. And colored here in yellow is Bengaluru in 890 CE Kannada. Those of you who can read Kannada may say, how can this be Bay? The Etwa today, which we kind of mark on top, it was written at the bottom until about the 10th century. This is Ba, this is Be, and there's a Anuswarach here, which is Beng. Ga, which is quite similar to how we write it today. Gu, La, and Lu, and Ra. That's Bengaluru. Essentially, it's telling us this is again a hero stone for two people called Pervona Setti and Buttannapati, who died in the Bengaluru battle. Okay, so two more heroes of Bengaluru who actually died in the Bengaluru battle. And first evidence of a place called Bengaluru in existence goes back 1100 years. Now, a lot of people think Bengaluru is not an old place. Anything that goes back 1100 years is ancient. This was discovered in the year 1914 by the archaeological head of Mysore state. It was not Karnataka, it was Mysore state then, in the temple. And he wrote in the Mysore archaeological report of the year 1914-15, now that we have the stone, we can give up on the story of Bindakaluru and Veeraballala and all of those other things. because those are legends and those are hand-me-down stories. Here we have hard historical evidence to say Bengaluru was there even in 890 CE. Okay, so if I make a comparison, most of the cities of India today, there are older places in India today. Most of them haven't grown to the stature of Bengaluru as a global city. We are a high-tech city. We are a city that attracts talent from not just India, from across the world. We are thriving. We are the fastest growing city on earth, by the way, if you don't know this. The city is supposedly growing at a rate of about 8%, which makes it amongst the fastest growing cities in the world, 1, 2, 3, based on whichever survey you look at. So a city that's 1100 years old and is the fastest growing city is quite something. We are not a ruined city. We are not a city where people go for pilgrimages to. We are a thriving, healthy, active city, and we are a historic city as well. Okay. Now, while I've been saying we are a city, Bengaluru is actually a patchwork of about 200 urus. Urus are towns or cities in Kannada, and about 450 hallis. Hallis are villages. Collectively, we call it Bangalore. So if you did that, then the collective history of all of these places is the collective history of Bengaluru as well. The place name was what I mentioned earlier, but here's something I'm showing you which is a little more granular or more detailed. Now, each of these again are the wards of the city. Now, in the earlier example, there was an inscription stone in which the name Bengaluru figured. So here, what we have done in this map is there are about 175 inscriptions in the Greater Bangalore Authority limits. 175 pieces of data from the past telling something about that particular place. An inscription stone is a record of something which is significant, an event which is significant. So the earlier examples were of about heroes, a building of a village, a building of a lake, a building of a temple, donations to a temple. All of these were thought significant enough to be written on stone and passed on to future generations. So we have 175 such data pieces in the city. Each of these icons you're seeing here, green heart, a red skull, and a question mark in some cases, they're all locations for inscriptions. We have so we have used a certain legend to explain that. These inscriptions have been studied and written about for almost 150 years. Once written about, it's forgotten. The author of that article probably is the only one who remembers it. No one else remembers it. And they're not studied in schools or colleges so that, public memory is not, refreshed either. So what is happening is these stones are getting destroyed. If an inscription is still at the same location where it was documented, we put a green heart to indicate it's alive. If the stone is not traceable, it was documented in a book, but it's not now traceable. What happened to it? It was sitting in a site where some building came up. The workers broke it and used it for construction. Or the inscription stone was at the edge of a road. And when they're building the road, they just, dumped it. They made it a drain cover or something like that, and they, wasted it away. So as you see, there are about quite a few red, skull marks here. About 40% of documented inscriptions have been lost so far. Only 60% remain. Okay. Now that's the conservation angle to it. Why do we need to preserve this? Because they're getting destroyed. And all of this has happened in the last 30 years since urbanization has happened. Now what we have done here is slightly, kind of more colorful. If an inscription stone carries the place name and we know the period of that inscription, we color code it. Like, for example, this region, the orange region, has the place name Domblur. This is the Domblur region in an inscription stone, and it is from the period 1300 to 1400. So therefore, we colored this ward as saffron or whatever it is you want to call it. So each of the wards, if it contains an inscription from a certain period and the place name, we give it the colors here. So as you can see, various parts of Bangalore have evidences of existence from different periods, starting from the period 500 CE. This is the Silk Board Junction area, Begur area. The first mention of Begur is from an inscription from 517 CE, about 1500 years ago. Okay, and that's here at the bottom. And after 1800, it's almost contemporary, so we kind of dropped it off. If you see here, the youngest amongst the youngest parts are the or the pink part. The pinkish part is the what we call as the majestic or the cantonment areas, the Pete Pradesha. Now, the Pete Pradesha is in Kannada is called as Hale Bengaluru or Old Bengaluru. But if you see, almost all of the localities around here are older than the central heart of the city. So it's kind of inappropriate that we are calling referring to the central heart of Bengaluru as older when it's probably the youngest. Okay, so here are on the right side are some examples of the place names as they're written here. So this is Bempurishwara from 517 CE, Bempur. This is Dombalur from 1300. This is Virupakshapura, which is the Vidyaranyapura region. This is Singapura, which is also in the Vidyaranyapura region. So how we have kind of marked this is essentially from these. This inscription is from 517, therefore we marked it orange. This inscription is from 1200, so therefore we marked this area as 1200. Now think about the city now. Each region, each nook and corner of the city can be dated. What we refer to today as Jayanagar, Indiranagar, Rajajinagar, or whatever are the newer names for these places. In some cases, we carry forward the old names, like we did for Domblur or Singapore or whatever. In some cases, where the old village still exists within that locality. And as people who have done urban planning, you probably will all know how you do that is by taking up the revenue map of a village. And then you kind of, depending on the topography, depending on whatever else, you mark the roads and you mark the, mark the sites and you mark the common areas and all of that. And that's what it is. And give it a name, new name. The new name usually takes over but the inner one still stays there. And that's a remnant of people living there for as long as we know. So in that sense, Indiranagar is Binnamangala actually, which goes back 1,000 years. JP Nagar is Saraki, which goes back again 1,000 years, 1,100 years. Rajajinagar is Ketmanhalli, and so on and so forth. So by dropping the use of older names, we are also forgetting our own past. And we're kind of churning out new stories. So if you were to ask a usual resident, a common resident of Rajajinagar, how old is it? He'll say it was in the 60s, named after C. Rajgopalachari. That's wrong. There was a Ketmanhalli which was sitting here, which goes back 600 years. So, okay. So we are also losing heritage or forgetting history because even these kind of things which are not tangible in the form of names are getting wasted away. We need to conserve that as well, not just the physical monument there. Okay. Now, again, for people who have come to Bangalore, they're always amazed by the number of languages that people speak here and how easily anyone from any part of the India or the world can settle in here. Because this city is inherently multilingual. People, natural born Bangaloreans, at least of my generation and earlier, could often speak 4 to 5 languages or even more. And those would be Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, English, and Hindi, or something else like that. For people who come from different background, different places, they're amazed that how can you guys speak so many languages? Now, that's also rooted in the past. It's today that we kind of have organized ourselves in terms of linguistic lines, and that linguistic line has somehow led us to believe that Karnataka equal to Kannada, Tamil Nadu equal to Tamil, Maharashtra equal to Marathi, or whatever. That's not how really life is, or things are. even now or in the past. Languages don't stop at an artificial line, man-made boundary. They diffuse, they change. And people migrations and all of that have been happening for thousands of years, not now. I'm sure a lot of people in your colleges today have migrated from elsewhere into Bangalore for livelihood, for teaching, for opportunities, for growth, for all of that as well. And this is not new. This has been happening for long periods. So diffusion of languages and migration of people are natural causes for languages to be in multiple places simultaneously, and not bounded by lines. So here what I'm showing you is examples of from again inscription stones, because inscriptions are the written records you go to for everything. Now this is from 1028 AD. This is Pattandur. Probably Abhirami may have been able to read this here. This is Pattandur. Pattandur is in the Whitefield area. 1,000 years ago, Tamil was being used here. Okay. I have one more example somewhere else. Yeah, this is Nekkundi. This is near the old airport. We have Kalkere, we have Telugu, Tamil, and this one, being used here for 1,000 years. So therefore here it's quite common for children to end up speaking 3 languages at home within their own families of cousins and uncles and aunts and grandparents and all of that. So it's come naturally, for usually for Bangaloreans, there's a challenge if you ask the question, what's your mother tongue? Because you speak multiple languages at home. Maybe you speak Kannada with your mother. Maybe you speak Telugu with some of your aunts who are also brought you up. They're also our mothers in some sense for you. So if you said any one language, you're likely to offend or insult the other one. So politely you look at the person and whatever they're expecting you to answer, you will answer that and move on. Despite the fact that you can say, I'm at home, I spoke at home multiple languages. Because it's hard for a lot of people to understand. So let me show this graphically again here. I hope it works. No. Okay. This is a movie clip. Sometimes works. I think I have to get rid of the laser pointer. Okay. So what we are doing here is, this is the region of Bengaluru. Based on the location of the inscription, based on the language of the inscriptions and the period, we're putting it up as dots. So you'll see now a few Kannada coming up. These blue is all Kannada inscriptions. And then you'll see some Tamil beginning. Yeah, there you are. You have some Tamil inscriptions which are in red. Then other languages could be Nagari, it could be Telugu, some of these other things as well. So you'll see a mix or blend of all languages coming up here for 1,000 years. Now, if for 1,000 years, multiple languages have been spoken, they are the languages of this place. So that's the story of languages of Bengaluru. So moving on. Okay. Now, what about the schools and colleges? Since you are a school and college, I'll bring college itself. What do you think is the oldest school or college in the region of Bengaluru? A lot of people end up thinking Bishop Cotton's or St. Joseph's or one of those schools, Wesley or something like that. Actually, those are British period schools started. We have had schools and colleges in here in India, in the subcontinent for thousands of years. They went by a certain name called Agraharas or Mandalas or Mangalas. So Agraharas essentially were places where Brahmins lived. So not just Brahmins, a lot of other communities lived. But the Brahmins in those villages also did, in addition to religious activities like yagnas and homas and prayers and rituals, also had schools. They would teach not just the religious scriptures, they would teach linguistics, they would teach grammar, they would teach astronomy, which was fundamental to everything. They would teach dance, they would teach medicine in the form of Ayurveda. Essentially, there was a medical school, engineering school, English school, science school, astronomical school, and a school of religion as well. And they stayed on campus. Because the teachers stayed there, the students stayed there, they lived there, they grew whatever they wanted there, and it was self-contained in that sense. So anywhere you see the name, place name Agrahara or Mangala, and some of the examples are shown here, and because I use these because you may have traveled on the metro and noticed this. Bertain Agrahara, Pattandur Agrahara, very famously the Parappan Agrahara where this jail is today. All of these were places for education. Pattandur Agrahara, by the way, is the first Agrahara we have mentioned, and that's from around the same inscription that I was showing you there, 1028. So this is a 1,000-year-old school. Every school in this locality is now continuing a tradition of education which started about 1,000 years ago. Now, if Bangalore is famous for its schools and colleges, we have about 40 ancient Agraharas and Mangalas in the city. Littered, I would say, with across the place. So only natural that education is something people value. And, the education system has got a long history over here. Now, Parappan Agrahara is very, very funny. It's where the central jail is here. But I think it's appropriate that the jail is located there because it's a relearning facility for people. It's a correctional facility. It's the stuff that people did not learn in terms of being, honest and truthful and peaceful and all of that. They learned that here. So it continues to be a school even today. Okay. Now, again, the other thing about Bangalore is in terms of the religious harmony. You find Christians here, Muslims here, Jains here, Hindus here, Lingayats here, all of them living together largely peacefully, and that's how it's been for many, many hundreds of years. Just like I explained multilingualism because of the past, the nature of syncretism or living together is rooted in the past. And we have umpteen examples here. Let me go back to the laser pointer. This is a place called Rajagatta. Not too far away from your college. I would say this is about 8-10 kilometers from your college, where 4th century Chaitya and Viharas have been excavated. Buddhism was quite popular here. And the evidence of Buddhism being here is in the form of Chaitya and Vihara. And we have these inscriptions as well, which is a Buddhist chant. Very interestingly, this excavation was done in the 2000s, and now the area was reburied. So you cannot get to see the Chaitya Vihara. But as of last week, there's a second excavation underway. I would highly suggest that you go visit the excavation site with proper permissions, of course, to see Buddhist remnants in this region, right in the vicinity of your own college. So we had Buddhism here. We had Jainism here. And I'm sure I'm circling here. This is something from the Bengaluru region. You're seeing a Tirthankara statue which is broken. We have Basdis here. We have many Jain Tirthankaras here. In fact, for a period of about 400 to 500 years, between 500 and 1000, Jainism seems to have been the majority or the dominant faith in this region. We have ancient Vishnu temples. This is a 7th century Vishnu sculpture. 7th century. We're talking of the periods for the better known temples of Badami, Pattatkal, Mamalapuram, and all of that. This is in a place called, this is near Chanpatna. Exquisite Vishnu idol, 7th century, 1300 years ago. Now, this is a Shiva temple, which is the Panchalingeshwara temple at Bengaluru, 1100 years. This is 9th and 10th century. Living, beautiful temple. I'm sure as a part of your temple architecture courses, you take your students here. This is a Veerashaiva Mata, which is almost contemporary to Basavanna. This is 13th century. Imagine a Lingayat Mata almost contemporary to Basavanna in Bengaluru. This is Vibhutipura, East Bangalore. So here we have Buddhism, Vaishnavism, Jain, Shaivism, all in evidence here. So if you understand that all of these faiths have been parallelly and simultaneously thrived and practiced here, you will understand why tolerance was inbuilt here. It's not a question of my way or highway. People give way. Your way is as good as my way is the way we know Bangaloreans typically behave. All right. Now, moving on to water. How old are Bangalore's lakes? Well, this again, we have inscriptional evidence as well as we have names in evidence in the forms of names. Dotting Bangalore, and whatever I'm saying is largely applicable to Mysore, old Mysore region or southern India as well, but I'm only picking the Bangalore examples to tell the story of Bangalore. You'd find places called Sandras, Allada Sandra, Jakka Sandra, Channa Sandra, Bomma Sandra, and all of that. Sandra is actually a derivation or a colloquial form of Samudra. When someone built a lake, and this is an example of the Allada Sandra lake, and what is shown here is mention of Allada Sandra from a 14th century inscription. Okay, so when a lake was built, people would name the lake as something with the suffix Samudra. Okay, Rama Samudra, things like that. Maybe it could be a god name, it could be a it could be a person's name, it could be something which is prefixed. But when you build something, you also want to give the feeling that I built something significant, right? So I built a lake which is as big as the ocean. You're comparing, what you're building to the ocean. So that's how you kind of, drive home the point I built something significant. And Samudra was a name that was quite fashionable in the 14th and the 15th centuries. Anytime you see a lake with Sandra in it, automatically the lake is about 600 to 700 years old. We have about 50 Sandras in Bengaluru, 50 lakes that go back about 700 years. The oldest recorded lake we have mentioned is Hebbal Lake, which goes back 1300 years. This is known as the city of lakes, definitely. So the lakes not only are plenty, but they are ancient. The lakes that are most discussed or most visible today are thought of as Sankey Lake and Alsur Lake, which are very recent because they're about 100, 150 years old. Every lake in Bangalore is man-made, which is why a lot of people like to call it tanks and not lakes. Either way, it's a terminology issue. We have most lakes in Bengaluru go back many, many, many centuries. Many of them go back many millennium as well. Okay. Now, the other thing, again, other way to read and learn about places is through place names itself. Now, you would have seen Palyas is another common name, a term that's used here. Ane Palya, Gurgunte Palya, Sultan Palya, and so on and so forth. Palyas were essentially military camps, popular during Hyder Ali Tipu Sultan's times. So there would be a small contingent of soldiers left there to ensure, to protect the place and to kind of look out and watch out. The term Palaigars is also derived from them. The moment we see a Palya, it's about 200 to 50 years old. We have 280 Palyas within the city. Like I mentioned, Agraras, Sandras, all of that, 280 Palyas as well in that. And if it is also a defense establishment today in many ways, half of the Bangalore city is defense. It also, it's no coincidence that Tipu Sultan, Hyder Ali, all of them concentrated here, because by concentrating here, they also, by concentration of Palyas as well, they laid the foundations for the British cantonment. Who laid the foundations for the modern Indian Army, Defense, Air Forces establishments here as well? We are a city which a military past going back quite some time. Okay. And I'm showing you examples here. Sultan Palya explicitly is placed because it's named after Tipu Sultan here. The other common name we have is Petes. Bade Pete, Chik Pete, Aki Pete, Nagar Pete, and all that. And there's a list of 26 odd Petes here. So these Petes were set up in the 16th century, the 1500s, which means they're about 500 years old. They indicate two things. One, the antiquity of the place. Two, the occasion or the profession as well. Balepete is essentially where the people who made bangles and sold bangles lived. Nagartarpete is similarly that. Ganigarapete is oil mills. People who crushed seeds, extracted oil and sold the oil is Ganigarapete. Tigalarapete is essentially the place where Tigalas, a community of horticulturists or gardeners, lived there. So now think about this. The entire Pete Pradesha is almost vocation based like this. They participated in the building of the city. One. Two, they are sitting in the heart of the city and they were surrounded by a mud fort. Usually, the communities such as these are relegated to the outskirts, the potters, the carpenters, and all of that. But here, they found a pride of place right in the heart of the city. I think there's a very interesting angle to it there as well. Now, I've given you a beautiful romantic story of inscriptions and how we can infer from all of that. But reality is completely different. This is the state of inscriptions here. Its heritage that's unrecognized is getting destroyed and is in very disrespectful, ugly, say this one. This inscription is from the 1400s. It's a record of a building of an agrahara. Now that I given you the context and the background to understand an agrahara, this school and the college in this place, it's in a place called Gongadipura, adjacent to Bengaluru University. Bengaluru University is continuing the traditions that were started by people 600 years ago there. The state of affairs there, weeds, overgrown, all of that. This is the inscription stone from the 8th century at Hebbad. It's sitting in a roadside ditch. You can see palm stains here. Garbage and filth are usually around here. This contains the place name Hebbal in it. And this man, his name is Kitaya, he gave his life defending an attack on his town. The attack is called Ur Alivu. Uru is town and Alivu is to destroy. So there was a force which had come to destroy his town. Essentially, destroying a town meant they would set on fire, they would steal the cattle, steal the women, steal the everything, and then make sure the place could not be lived on at all for there. Any survivors had to go find a new place. So this man Kitaya actually stopped the attacking force, saved his people and his town, but died in the process. He was a martyr. If he had not done that, there would be no Hebbal today. And look at the state in which the stone was. This is a photograph from 2018. This is how we are celebrating, recognizing our heritage. So what we do in the project is we save these kind of inscriptions and hero stones and all of that. We adopt very ultra-modern methods. We develop, even if man did not destroy it, nature itself would destroy the stone. Rain, sunshine, wind, all of that essentially means the stone would be flaking away, cracking, and all of that over millenniums. Now, what you're seeing here is an 8th century sculpture of Durga. We know she's Durga basically because you can see the buffalo here, and all the iconography of that is a giveaway. And there's writing here which is being scanned. How we do it is what is being shown here. Let me play the movie. So we have a small handheld device. It's a scanner. It's extremely expensive. We carry a laptop. We go place to place. And we make high resolution 3-dimensional digital copies of the sculpture. It captures the geometry of the surface at 0.05 millimeters. So anything which is hair thick on the stone would be captured that day. So it's absolutely harmless. We don't even touch it most times unless there's some dirt or there which you would remove. There's no chemicals used, nothing. And we go place to place, and there are about 1,500 such inscriptions in and around the Bengaluru, and we save those. And let me show you one. Okay, I'll come back to this later. I'll show you an example of a model as well. In the meantime, I'll move on. So what we have done is we have scanned upwards of about 700 inscriptions so far. Each of these contain aksharas in them. Now there is this, one of the reasons these inscriptions are getting destroyed is because they are not readable. Those of you who could read Kannada and were trying to read those would have found a little bit hard or odd. The reason for that is the script is a little different from what we use today. And because it's not so readable, all kinds of myths and make-believe stories have resulted because of that it should not be read. If you read it, your head is going to break and all of those kind of things. So what we have done is to make it accessible to people. We have built a software called Akshara Bandara that's bilingual. You can either scan this QR code or click on this link or search Akshara space Bandara and you're going to find this software both on mobiles as well as this one, where we have uploaded about 40,000 Kannada Aksharas images. These are all Aksharas there. Each one, whether it's A, E, or whatever like that, and we have gamified it. So the intended user for this are children like this, in addition to adults and scholars and all of that. Children are super inquisitive about learning these scripts. Here you see this girl who's copied an inscription, and I was so fascinated by that. I wanted to take a photograph. I asked her to look at me, and she was so shy. She turned her face away, and she's showing me the book. There's this young child, barely probably in the kindergartens or something like that, who's inquisitively looking at this. So we built this software for anyone to learn ancient Kannada scripts. It's gamified, so it just throws an image and asks you to recognize, and then you figure out you learned something 1,000 years old and all of that. So you progressively go from characters to words to lines to paragraphs and so on. And you soon become proficient at this. At this time, there's Kannada in this. By the end of this year, we would have added Tamil as well. Kannada and Telugu are exactly the same, though in that sense, we have Kannada and Telugu covered today. Tamil will be included in this by the end of the year, and Nagari as well, maybe in the next year. Hopefully, our dream is to do this for all India basis. All Indian scripts have evolved from a script called Brahmi. Whether it's Bengali script or whether it's Gurmukhi or whether it's Sharda or whether it's whatever script anywhere in the country, they all trace back the roots to Brahmi. We hope to show the evolution of modern day scripts, whether it's Bengali or Gujarati or Marathi or wherever else, from Brahmi in a few years using this software. Okay, so let me show you, see if this one is loaded. Here you go. So this is the scan model of an inscription stone. I can zoom, I can pan, all of that. But because it's 3D, what I can do is I can also rotate it. So this is an exact copy, and you'll probably be able to see the writing now. But because I'm in the digital realm, let me get rid of all these artifacts here. Yeah, I can shine a light from left to right. And because of the shadows, you'll see the visibility enhanced. Okay, I can use sophisticated rendering algorithms and get rid of, keep looking at the object here. You'll see it jump out there. It becomes so much more readable now. I can use sophisticated visualization algorithms to bring out the image. I can remove the color of the stone. There you are. This is almost like a whiteboard or a chalkboard. So easy to read. Now its readability is enhanced. We also have a very high resolution three-dimensional model. In the event the stone is either flaked or chipped away or maybe completely broken or lost, we have high resolution copies. We can 3D print this, we can machine this, we can do it on stone, we can do this or whatever, and we can produce as many copies of this as we want. This is the heart of a project when we say conservation and digital conservation. Okay, so I've already said this. This is very important to do because 40% of these map is now red skull marks. We better do it on this one. And how do we popularize the history to the public? There are a few ways we do. Here's an example where we have proposed that postmarks, postal cancellations for the respective areas carry the place name from an inscription stone. Like in this case, this is Hebbal from 750 CE. This is Jakkur. So every postcard and envelope, anything that's delivered in that locality will carry this, and it will remind people about the antiquity of the place. Okay, hopefully this will happen in a few months. We have written extensively in the Wikipedia. Wikipedia has upwards of about 100 inscription stones, and that's each one of them is getting read 8 to 50 times depending on the location. Anytime there's a place, this Malleshwaram is in the news, and somebody does a Google search for Malleshwaram, usually the first hit is our Malleshwaram inscription stone. So they learn about it. So making history accessible to the public is essentially extremely important. Now, here's an example I think has a direct connection to your college in some ways. I'm not so sure. The same Hebbal inscription stone is now built in a Ganga-style mantapa. The one man, essentially, his name he stood up and he said, "I'll handle the people part of it. You handle the fundraising and the design and all of that, and let's put this hero stone in a pedestal which dignifying, befitting, the hero who gave his life." So this is a Ganga-style mantapa. It was designed by an architect called Yashaswini Sharma, who specialized in Hoysala art, but she went and studied Ganga architecture, and then this is exactly in the Ganga style of architecture, the period from which the hero is. He will be perfectly at home in this place. Now, I think now anyone who goes to Hebbal gets to see this. We have to celebrate our history in this way. It's not feasible to put up every inscription stone in a mandapa like this, but nevertheless, we need to give them some homes, and that's what we do. Okay. I'll leave it here. What I've given you here today is just a taste for the history of Bengaluru. A deep dive into each one of these can go on for days. But I'm kind of just want to leave you with the story that Bengaluru has incredible history and we have extraordinary heritage. And since you are also an architect kind of a community, heritage protection goes beyond just buildings that you can see or temples. There is all kinds of heritage here. In fact, heritage which is so granular that it can tell the story of the neighborhood of your college. And I'll finish with that story. Behind your college at Avalalli, in a eucalyptus grove, was a 14th century hero stone with an inscription in that. Beautiful one. The problem was that the belief that there is a treasure hidden under these is very common in our people. So despite it being in a eucalyptus grove, at least 3 or 4 times people had gone there with JCBs, excavators, and excavated the earth around it, so much so that it was a 20-foot almost a well there. They would not find anything there. They would throw the stone aside somewhere else and dig in that place. So when we learnt of this, we requested the people there to take care of it, and they didn't show interest. So we have shifted that now to the Bangalore Museum. Heritage is getting destroyed in this way, and the way to save it is not in museums. Avalalli was the only one which we shifted to the museum. Others have been all saved in place. Just to give you an example of how close home these things are happening, I wanted to live there with that story for you finally. I'll stop here and take questions if there are any. Yeah.
Any questions?
Hello, sir. Sorry, I'm just traveling, but hopefully you can hear my voice.
Yes.
Sir, amazing presentation. In fact, I was just, questioning myself what as a school we are doing it. Unfortunately, we study always like, the same old temples every time, but, these kind of things never ever been covered in most of the academics, regular academics, which is completely missing as a part of institutional side, I'm saying. But sir, my question is like for any building or a temple where we have this Protection Act and all those things, the listing is there. So at least those are like completely protected. But whereas you have mentioned in one of the map where you said that those Veeragal and the other things, it's really so challenging to those things, because if it is a public property or a private property, public property, at least they may report it to the concerned departments or something where it can be little bit, it can be taken care of. But if it is a private property, definitely they will not be knowing the importance of these things. So is there any regulations which can take care of or kind of a NOC or something? I don't know exactly, but is there any way through which these things can be kept as it is? Because see, sir, nowadays there are a lot of housing colonies which is around maybe 30 acre, 40 acre, and definitely these must have been vanished at the time of the excavation itself. So how do you take actually, what is the right procedure to have it? That's a one question from my side, sir.
Okay. So, first thing, do we have an act or a legislation for this?
Yeah.
Actually, it's enshrined in the Constitution of India as a fundamental duty. Every citizen of India will protect heritage. I don't think we have anything stronger. We need anything stronger than that. The fundamental duty of every citizen of India is, amongst the other things, is to protect heritage. Okay, so that is one. Two, yes. See, what has happened is that why the state has come about is also very important. In the race for living, everybody wants to stay alive, right? So you are really focused on livelihood, what works for me, and all of that. History, culture, and all of that have taken a backseat. You need, the Maslow's pyramid thing. Once you have your food, and once you had a shelter, and once you have your education, and all of that is when you begin to think of these kind of things. It is for the last, I would say, for the last 30, 20 years, we have not been in that stage. It's only now that we have people like you and I and more people asking questions about history and heritage and all of that. That awakening of what is our story is now there, coming about. Earlier, it was very superficial. So these days, when we go sensitize people and tell, do you know this extraordinary thing in your region? This place, here's your place name. Here is your hero. Here is your temple, which is so old. Your lake is so old. People have that strong sense of, they take ownership and they do it. You saw the Ganga style mandapa there. That man is uneducated. He barely passed 10th standard. I don't think he passed 10th standard as well. But when he figured his name, place name was there, and he's from that same place, his statement was, sir, I want Hebbal to be known to the world. Yeah, and he single-handedly managed the politics of that place. He managed the MLA, the corporator, the bodies, and all of that. He said, you raise the funds, you figure out, we'll build this mandapa. So same story everywhere. In fact, I think people such as ourselves who are educated and literate, widely traveled, knowledgeable, well-read, we have to stand up for the place now. We haven't been doing enough of that. We've been pointing fingers at the government. We've been pointing fingers at the departments and all of that. At least the kind of heritage that I'm talking about is not big ticket. It doesn't take millions or billions of rupees or dollars to do this. This is small. We can take it upon ourselves to save one such thing. I think our heritage will be saved. Even by just doing even by just taking a selfie and sharing it on Instagram or Twitter, you're building awareness. You don't have to do anything more than that either.
As I mentioned earlier, please go ahead.
I could see the two strong threads here. One is the younger generation. You see the kind of educational system, sir. Entire thing is nowadays it's completely English medium. More of a different thought process, where we don't have even very less Kannada medium students who can really read Kannada. Now, in that case, I don't know how really they are interested to read these inscriptions, which you have really, that software is so interesting to at least.
So let me interrupt you there.
Yeah.
We do sessions for schools and colleges. We did one at NGMA on Saturday, Sunday last week. Children love it when we show them ancient Kannada and all of that. when I propose that we do a ancient Kannada script using Akshar Bandara session at the school to the Kannada teacher almost always says what you said. Sir, my children don't know Kannada, sir. They are only studying it for whatever and all of that. I'll say, it doesn't matter. Just wait and watch what happens. And we put up something there and we ask the child to read it. Most times the child is reading 1200, 13-year-old Kannada easily because the child's mind is still open. Okay, and it's kind of willing to explore. The Kannada teacher's eyeballs are popping out. How can this child who can't read anything, is doing this? Actually, we are kind of, we should leverage the young and the youth, expose them. You just need to give them that opportunity to experience and understand. When we take children to these spots, we take, school expeditions to these children, the first question the child asks is, why is this not in, why am I not told this? Why am I not studying this? Honestly, the people who are kind of messing it up are the adults and not the children. The children are hungry and thirsting for such knowledge. So I think there is enormous hope if the adults kind of change their mindsets. Yeah. I don't have the time, but I wish I can play you the videos of these children playing those games, marveling at it and all of that. Yeah. They are there on social media. Please take a look, search for inscription stones of Bangalore. You'll find hundreds of examples. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we do have some in the chat also. I think Professor Raghunath, he was our previous speaker also. He is requested a session by you on great trigonometric survey.
Sure. That was something I had worked earlier. I'll do it. I'm happy to do it.
Sure, sir. And there is one more question also by Sikon, our college associate professor. Intangible heritage like the oral history of these stone inscriptions are also neglected. Do you think we need policy interventions to protect?
Policy on paper will not make a difference. Just by passing a legislation or a bill, no one's going to see. The Karnataka Archaeological Department is hopelessly funded. There are hardly any money to clean the toilets in the museums if you have gone there. Even in their own offices, they don't have anything. So why so a policy passed saying, it's a crime, you'll be punished 2 years, blah, 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 blah. Who's going to enforce it? Not going to happen. Yes, do we need a policy? I agree with you. Along with the policy, also, we need to kind of think, how can we make the policy actionable? Can we fund those departments enough? Can we build awareness? Can we do all of that? And I don't think any policy is required for doing the other activities at all. If we are a team of 4 people, we are not a government body. We are an NGO, self-funded. We don't take the donations. We have saved 1,500 inscriptions. The Karnataka government is extremely happy for what we are doing. They support us in that way. But I think we have to start. Policy is, yes, good to have. Is it going to be effective, successful? I don't think so. Yeah.
Any other questions?
It's 1:30, everyone's hungry.
So if no other questions, not from your presentation or anything, I just wanted to know, after 30 years being into engineering, data analytics and all that, what actually motivated or inspired you to come to a different field?
Okay. So it's been told many times, I'll repeat it again. I did kind of, in a tangential way, refer here. So the place I live in is Rajajinagar. But when I was growing up, it was not Rajajinagar, it was Ketmarnhalli. And in the year 2017, someone told me there was an inscription stone from the 14th century at Ketmarnhalli, which carried the name, Ketmarnhalli name. I have a fairly strong emotional connect with it, the place. Also, it used to bother me because my job took me all over the world. It used to bother me that everyone celebrated heritage, history fantastically, but India is supposed to have an ancient past. There's absolutely nothing here to claim to fame, kind of thing. And someone told me this is do you know your place is 700 years old? That shook me up. So I went looking for that and I could not trace the inscription. It had been destroyed. And then, there's a book, Epigraphia Karnataka, which documents all these inscriptions. So in and around Rajajnagar and my workplace, which was at the far end of the city. So I used to go around looking for these inscriptions and found 40% of them had been destroyed. And I come from a slightly aerospace defense background, so I knew about reverse engineering of parts and all that. So instantly I knew that, 3D scanning is the best way to say document these inscription stones forever. So I started doing that, and then, slowly one thing led to another, and Mythic Society offered to fund the project if I did it on a larger scale. So I took stock and I said, I'd hit the ceiling as far as the corporate world had gone, and I had opportunity to do something worthwhile still with my remaining years. So I stepped back. Theoretically, I'm on a sabbatical from my workplace. There is no job there if I go back anyways. So that's how it happened, and that's how it started.
Any questions from anyone?
I think there is one question by Mr. Anand in the chat box.
Yeah.
You can just
Any
read it.
detailed documentation on Jatre, Begur, etc., path, oral history, etc. is available if you can suggest related sources.
Jatre. Yeah.
So there is a book on Begur. So by the way, Jatres and oral traditions are not history. They're just records of things. History is essentially something which is backed by hard evidence. There is a small booklet produced by a man called P.V. Krishnamurthy. I don't know where it is available. If you come and visit our Mythic Society library, you'll find the booklet. You can read it. You can refer to it. Our library is only a reference-only library. It doesn't loan books. But over there, you can find that book and you can read it. Mythic Society is on Ripatunga Road, right opposite Reserve Bank of India.
So if no more questions, can we close the session?
I think, yeah.
Yes.
So now I request Architect Medha Gangur actually to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you all for joining us today on this enriching exploration into the journey of Bangalore from the Antarctica to the 16th century. On behalf of the BMS School of Architecture and the CRDS Foundation, it is my privilege to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Uday Kumar for his deeply insightful and engaging presentation. His exploration of Bangalore's journey from deep geological time to the 16th century beautifully connected landscape, inscriptions, and material evidences, offering us a layered understanding of the city's origin and historical evolution. The eye-opening session reminded us that we are not merely living in a Silicon city, but in a place rich with profound tangible and intangible heritage. It was truly a great way to begin the first Heritage Insight session of the 2026. We express our sincere thanks to Dr. Shaila Bantnoor ma'am and architect Shobha Narendra Kumar ma'am for their visionary leadership and constant encouragement in shaping the series. Our appreciation also goes to architect Abhiram Imam. We are grateful to all the participants. Thank you once again for being with us today. Stay engaged, stay curious, and together let us keep our heritage alive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.